Hey Savvy people, it's Savvy Nick here, and today we'll be talking with a team member and open source contributor of a free and open source game called Veloren. This game is being developed in Rust, and the talk was part of a release party for Veloren, the pre-alpha version 0.8. Make sure to check out Veloren at veloren.net.
Yes, can you hear me all right?
Okay, I can hear you. Let's see if this is going to come through. It's a little choppy. So, Forrest here is from the Veloren team, actually, and joining us live via Discord. Wants to talk about Veloren here a little bit. So I'm going to let Forrest take the stage here. Go ahead, Forrest.
Yeah, so I've been working with Veloren for quite a while, and I work from the perspective of a community position. So I'm the meta lead. I do a lot of community outreach. I write the blog. I recently did a talk at Mini DevConf, and I'm also working on just other community outreach in general. So I think first of all, I know that you always stream when you have releases, and I always love watching. And so it's definitely cool to come in and kind of chat and you. So although I'm not a developer myself, I'm not one of the main developers, but I can talk a lot about the systems, and so maybe talk a little bit to your audience about what kind of stuff we have going on for this release, and maybe also if they have any questions about how get into that.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much for joining in here and chatting with the viewers. Real quick, we'll probably have to do something post-op too, just when I'm sure there's a lot going on between yours and my internet connection, so it might be a little choppy on their end. But as everyone heard, make sure to post any questions you have about Veloren. Forrest is joining in here, both on the release party as well as chat. How about you speak a little bit about that latest biopsy that you have, the conference, and what you guys talked about on there, and let Forrest talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So this was the second time I spoke about Veloren, and for us, we have a lot of developers that can talk for a long time about the systems that they're working on. But right now, we don't have any systems that are incredibly final. A lot of them are foundations for further things, and they're going to be iterated on and improved. And so there are some very cool things in the game that are definitely, we find them groundbreaking, we find them novel. So for example, our erosion system, the world simulation stuff that we're working on right now. We found these systems to be very cool, but they need to be worked on a lot before we can consider them to be at a sort of 1.0 stage. And so I think one of the biggest things I want to mention right now is that we currently have 92 players online, which is the most that we ever had, and we're all very surprised right now that the server is holding up. And I think that's thanks to our stress test that we had on Tuesday, and that helped out a lot. But for us, the big thing is that this is all a learning experience. We're not professional game developers, and so we do as much as we can to really get the best best expertise from each developer that we can. And we want to be able to let people do what they do best and be able to integrate very well with the community and work well together. And so that's really what I want to show off in the conference talks that I give, is that since we are an open source project, and since we are doing this differently than conventional games, and since we have a lot of people who are very motivated to work on it, how do we retain this motivation? How do we retain the quality of what we're outputting, and how do we retain the drive to come up with these incredibly new systems? And not necessarily incredibly new, we've definitely seen them places before, right, but we have so much extra power to be able to put them into the game. And so yeah, that's definitely a lot of what we focused on with the conference.
Absolutely. And then another thing too is this is fairly new Rust development. I mean, you I don't want to say fairly new, but there's not too many games out there, right, in Rust written at the moment, so you guys are kind of pioneering some of this in Rust, correct?
Yeah, so I think it's very interesting because I've recently become part of the Rust game dev working group, which is really I find it pretty awesome that I'm able to sort of work with these other people who are working to make Rust a first-class ecosystem for video games. And I focus a lot on I help write the monthly blog. I hope to help work on some larger term tasks about what things should be included in the Rust game development ecosystem. But for the time being, I focus a lot on the outreach. And so what I find is that there are many people who are working on many different projects in Rust, and they're working on such amazing things. But there aren't very many named like large name games out in Rust right now,
right?
If any. So although people might have released some small things for game jams and some small things that maybe like are on Steam, there's still a lot of way to go in making sure that it's very stable, making sure that it has like first class crates to be able to do everything you need, whether it be like the entity component system, whether it be graphics, whether it be audio. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. But since we are coming in from the perspective of we don't have deadlines, we don't have any goals that we need to hit at a certain time, then we really get to explore a lot of these very interesting things with a large team that not many other projects can have. And so right now you're looking at the Aurora Borealis, which was just implemented I think last week as like a secret thing that Zester wanted to do for fun.
So beautiful, and,
too. That's so cool. I know it so myself is really interesting because I play the game like once a month.
Yeah.
I spend so much time working on like the other stuff surrounding it that I know very little about how to actually play the game.
Yeah.
So I think what really motivates me is that every time I come back and play, there's just so much more beautiful stuff that people have put in that it just blows my mind that we have a team that can do this.
Absolutely, and then that's definitely one of the things I really enjoy. Is like week in and week out, you know, there's just constant new developments, and it's just absolutely beautiful. You can just spend hours going through this map and looking at all this beautiful stuff, and just like you're saying with this lighting effects are amazing. The clouds have just recently changed. I mean, there's been so much development just in a week's time, you know, and you guys are doing great. Gotta say, if anyone else has any questions, make sure to post them in the chat. We'll get them answered here by Forrest, one of the contributors here in Veloren. Also, let me see. So I got to figure out where I'm at because Copcat's asking.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure where I'm at, honestly. This is absolutely.
If you press M, you should be able to go to the full map.
Oh, then... whoa! Okay, this is an update too.
Yeah,
wow.
So there's some things in the game that you add and they give way more to the game than a lot of other things. So for example, like when I saw that we had these, like you have a map you can zoom in, you can move around, you can see everything that's on the map. Like that just adds so much to it, I think.
Yeah, this is amazing how much this has, you know, been overhauled. This is fascinating because I remember about a week ago when I was on here, none of this was on for sure. So now we can select between, we can see different towns. That's pretty awesome. Zoom in and out, scroll around. It's much easier to interact with, and you can even tell people where exactly you line up. So difficulty. What's this difficulty? Is that dungeon difficulty?
Yeah, so I haven't looked too much into these systems, but in looking around, we can see that we have like different caves, we have different dungeons, we have different villages. So I think there's definitely a lot of work to be done. For example, like let's say you're in a party, it would be very nice to be able to click on one and then show the party what you're clicking on, or if you're in a party, show where the other people are on the map or something like that. So definitely a lot of work. But so a funny kind of thing that happens is every time that we have a release, a week before we have a code freeze, and so nobody's allowed to add any new features until after the release, just so we don't add any more breaking stuff. We can work on stability.
Sure.
Now, but right before the code freeze, everybody wants to get their big systems in that they've been working on.
Right.
And so, like 2 weeks ago, we had like tons and tons of merge requests that went in that like improved like the Aurora Borealis. We had the map. We had a lot of different combat stuff, a lot of different animations, and so it's just crazy how much stuff you get right at the at the brow of the release. Yeah,
no, this is so beautiful. I don't know what to say about this. It's really jaw-dropping. Got Copcat back in the party. We do have a question about how does Veloren manage to earn its funding, if any? I mean, I don't know that you guys really do earn any funding. It's more of well, everybody just contributes to the open source. And how do you like for the server? I mean, there's got to be maintenance, and running the server costs money. What do you guys do to fund that?
Yeah, so this is a really great question, and the reason behind it is that historically open source has not really been something that you can put a business model behind. But now we're looking in the modern age. We see that Godot is a game engine that is open source, and it has dedicated contributors who are getting like monthly salaries because so many people are invested in the project, and they have different I think they have the Epic Mega Grant, and they have some other stuff that is really pushing them forward. Now, for smaller projects like us, we're making a game that a lot of people will enjoy, and a lot of people will So they know that they can go and learn how to develop, and they can help contribute to progress the game like that. But they also know that if you contribute in like a monetary way, then it can really help the developers a lot further, and maybe that's what you're capable of doing. And so we've seen that from a lot of people, that they were saying is I'm not able to help you like work on the game, but I can contribute to, and I want to be able to do that. And so we set up an open collective about 6 months ago or 8 months ago, and on there we've been currently, like we just have like monthly people who are like paying like $5, $10 per month. We've had some larger donors, and so this has really allowed us at the moment to not have to worry very much about server costs. So
Gotcha.
for example, we have the game server that's running all the time. It's running in Hetzner in Germany. I think we pay about 10 euros per month, and so that's pretty reasonable for a server that can handle probably 20 people just fine, and in the future probably more. Now, for the release party, we always go over the top. This time we got like a 32 core, 128 gigabyte RAM, massive server,
overpowered,
like that.
Yeah.
It costs like 270 euros per month or something.
Wow.
Like that. So we only run it for like 3 hours during the release party, and we turn it back off.
Sure.
But essentially, so we have like a very good idea of how much hardware is required for our servers and everything like that. And so we can create a budget from that. And so we know about how much we want to spend on servers, how we want to scale, how we want to expand. But in the future, we're also looking into other ways of generating revenue, because we want to be a nonprofit. We don't want to necessarily care about for profit, like trying to make this a business or anything like that. That's very difficult to do when you're an open source project, and you don't necessarily believe in that. But on the other hand, if we were going to go and make a release on Steam, then it could very well make sense to charge like $10 for it or something like that.
Sure, absolutely.
So that people have the convenience of playing on Steam, and they support the project a little bit, and we're not asking for too much, and it's always going to be open source. So you can still go compile it, you can still install the binary yourself, and so the only reason you buy it is for the convenience, or because you want to support the development. And so I think there's lots of different ways in the modern age with how revenue can be generated for open source projects, but it's definitely something that wasn't necessarily viable like 10 years ago in the open source.
Absolutely. No, that's those are all great mentions, and hopefully you do get something up on Steam, and then, you know, I mean, bringing in some money is always good. I mean, I'm sure the developers and everybody in the community is putting in a lot of work, and they want to see everything succeed, and you're not going to succeed without you know, being able to get it out to a massive amount of people. You know, as this game is growing, there's going to be, you know, more and more. You're going to need more hardware. You're going to need more support. There's a lot of uphill battles, and money solves a lot of those, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially with servers. I think that if you look at a lot of very big games, so like let's take example Among Us. It came out 2 years ago. It became popular 2 months ago.
Yes.
I'm so interested because it's such a small indie studio, 4 people, 1 developer.
Wow.
And how they did the scaling was basically like at first they had like a lot of issues, and then they made it a little bit better, but they basically just pay for thousands and thousands of servers. And you can do that when you're making enough money to enough revenue to do that, but you have to really their system was definitely not optimized for this outcome. And so now,
just to interrupt you for a moment,
for sure,
we have 106 people online right now. Let's go. We got over the 100. Wow. Just had to say that. Amazing.
Yeah. When I posted the announcement today, we were in the admin channel. We were saying like it would be amazing if we got 100 people. Like I'll post it just in case. We got 55 last time. Let's see if we can go larger. And first of all, we didn't expect that we would actually get 100 people to come out. And then second of all, we didn't expect that the server would be running after 100 people connected.
Yeah, it's still running great.
And so it's blowing all of our minds, because we haven't been able to test like this. And so we're getting so much amazing telemetry that's going to help us so much in improving.
Great.
Because like, let's imagine that we're running on a 32 core server. Right now, we're each GPU is distributing the load very nicely, but is still stuck at about 45% of full capacity. If we can increase that to the 100%, use the server to its full capacity, and improve how we're doing stuff like our physics, like our AI, like our CPU intensive tasks, how we're sending stuff over the network, like we're sending like 20 megabytes per second. If we can improve a lot of this stuff, then we can see like viable servers with 400 players on it.
Perfect.
So I'm very excited about the future potential of that.
So yeah, I mean, your focus right now is really optimizations, kind of using these release parties as trying to figure out, you know, what can be better optimized on the server side of things, and that way you save on hardware, I assume, right?
Yeah, and so on hardware, we're not too like if there was like an influx of like 10,000 people who were trying to play on the server every day, that would become a very big problem.
Sure.
We wouldn't have like the facility. Well, we don't have like the revenue coming in to be able to handle it.
Right.
But we've been growing at a pretty steady pace. Like if we look at each release party and how many people it's had, it's an okay curve. It's not exponential. It's not anything crazy. And so with that, we are able to have like a party like this where we are seeing like if we go like if okay, like we're like okay, like 112. Oh my goodness. Okay, so like say we go up to 150. I think that's like the cap of like where we'll start running into problems, because I see like the server ticks are starting to go a little bit higher. Our server memory is, well, actually server memory, we have 128 gigs, we're fine. But there are anomalies once you reach the high end of certain numbers, and so I think we'll take a lot from this. We'll learn from it, and then hopefully for the next release party, we'll be able to come up with an even larger group and be able to see how that handles.
Awesome. And then we got another question here for you. Let's see. How big is the Veloren team currently, from Victor?
Yeah, so this is definitely another great question. There's a lot of people who have come and gone from the project, and I think one of the great things about open source projects is you can have that sort of agility. You can have people who want to join for a week and work on something and then leave and then come back 2 months later and keep on working on something. And so since we really allow for that, we've seen over 100 people contribute actual code to the game. Yeah. And then on top of that, we've seen about probably like another like 50 people who have contributed either translations or music or like just game design ideas, art, assets, so on and so forth. Now, as for core developers, we do like a working group structure, and so we have what would be like similar to like 13 different teams. And so I'm the meta lead. We have like rendering, we have multiplayer, we have animation, so on and so forth. And each one of those has a lead, and those people are the types of people that will be like have the domain specific knowledge, but also be very knowledgeable about that part of the code base. And so I'd say we have about 15 core developers who will be like working on like a weekly basis, maybe taking a break every once in a while, but we'll be continuing quite a lot.
Perfect. Great to hear. Thanks for answering that one. And so Copcat, I don't know if you're aware of Copcat or not, is a level 199 right now in the game. Quite amazing feat. And I think we're going to try hitting the 200 mark. Do you want to join in on this, or you want to...
So I think the only problem is that, as I mentioned, I don't play the game very much, and I'm actually level 1. And so I think there's a little bit of a skill gap here. I think I can teleport to you, so I'll see if I can join you. I'm probably going to hop off the call, though, because I do need to check in on some of the server stuff and make sure everything's running
Absolutely.
Okay. But I'll see if I can meet up with you guys in that dungeon.
All right, sounds great. Thank you so much, Forrest, for taking some time and talking about this. We'll have to do this in the future, and maybe we can make a full... kind of stream devoted to these questions so people can think of them, come into the chat, and have them prepared for us. Thank you so much for joining in.
Good. Talk to you later.
All right, see you, Forrest. And that concludes the talk. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure to post them in the comments section below. For more videos like this, subscribe below and smash that like button for me. If you haven't already, catch me in a great community on Discord, and I'll catch you in another video. Thanks for watching.